Thanks, Bill.
Hold on, it hasn't caught up yet, so maybe it hasn't flipped.
I'm on the Twitch strat, and I'm seeing your OBS stuff. Now there's
Wait, there we
infinity.
go.
Whoa! Oh, there
Okay.
we are. Okay.
All right, but point of order before we begin. Welcome everyone, in case anybody ever stumbles upon these archives. What were you gonna say, Al?
Oh, I was gonna say, are we?
Fourth level,
We
right?
all
Yes,
fourth
fourth
level
level.
at this
Yeah.
point. Is that what we are?
Yeah, I thought that was a joke. Yes, fourth level. Yes,
It's just been so long.
it has truly. It has been
But
so long.
But you know what? It could have been longer because we're here tonight. Damn it! And
Yeah,
we're playing some games.
true that. So this is a 5e Eberron game. See, I'm looking at the feed and I'm not seeing this live. I still see my. There we go. This is a 5e Eberron game, live streamed, sometimes without the accompanying audio for various technical reasons. But nonetheless, I am your dungeon master. My name is Ralph. I go by @CritThulu on Twitter. And I'm going to throw it over to the characters for introduction, starting with Al.
Hi, I'm Big Al. At Big Al the Lawyer on Twitter. I'm playing Italian Tildavandi for the first time in like 2 months. So it's gonna be a blast. And I will pass it on to Andy.
Hi, I'm Andy. I'm playing Gideon, the Carnathy human fighter. Normally, this is occupied by my lovely and talented wife, Jules, who is currently putting down our toddler. When she gets back from that adventure, she'll be playing Azure, a dragonborn storm sorcerer.
What the f? She's taking side quests without us. She's XP grinding. She better not get any loot for that.
There's only one kind of loot coming out of that kid, and it's not a type you want.
A wondrous item.
A wondrous item.
Tactile, maybe.
That's right. Yes. Since I jumped on that already, I'm Michael, and you can find me at the RPG Academy. And in this game, I'm playing a ghost who is a dwarf-sized warforged that was born on the day of mourning and was left alone in the cannon facility for a while and really doesn't quite understand people and thinks everything they touch is theirs. Because why not? I'm also a freshman.
Yes, at the esteemed Moorgrave University.
Correspondence courses, but still, it counts.
So presently, a Ghost, Gideon, and Azure are navigating their way through Middle Tavik's landing, heading for dinner at a restaurant recommended to them, the Taste of New Seer. This is for a Ghost's cultural appreciation credit, essentially, as part of his correspondence studies. But jumping back in the timeline briefly to catch up our off missing companion. Earlier in the day, Talion is about to enter into Cascal Printworks to meet his lost sisters. So Talion, when you last left the group, they were in the lobby of the Moorgrave University. You knew that a Ghost and Gideon were being questioned by a couple of experts in various fields, academics and such. And you and Azure were kind of given leave to wait for them. So I think you just left Azure kind of in the lobby there at the university and headed off on your own for a bit. So you've departed from them, but you're sure that you'll catch back up with them. You guys are staying at the same hotel. The Cascal Printworks, the two stylized like wood-burned C's in the sandwich board out front, basically. It's a two-story narrow building wedged between what look like residences on either side. And it is on Wheelwright Lane, as you were told by the concierge of the Gold Dragon Inn, where you guys are staying. If you remember, of course, you are on the border of the Mage Bright District and Smoky Towers. So right where the Wizards district essentially butts up against a theater district. here in the Middle Memphis plateaus of the city of Sharn. Unless there's any preparations you'd like to make, I guess you're headed on this trajectory.
Yeah, I'm good. I don't think I need to prepare.
Okay.
At least Talion doesn't think he needs to prepare. He probably should.
So we see a scene. The audience sees a scene, I guess, somewhat familiar to a brief cut scene that we had seen previously. Not that Talion is aware of anything that has transpired here, but we hear the telltale ringing of a shop door being opened, and you can see, bring, bring. You can see that this
I'm doing Foley work tonight. So just, bling, bling, yeah.
a small, cluttered workshop. Staircase leading up from the ground floor, probably to an apartment upstairs, you would imagine. All manner of shelves here, just kind of bedecked with bound books, seemingly blank, no titles on the spines or anything like that. You see invitations. You see just fine sheafs of paper, like bundled together. And then, some other goods to kind of accompany that, the paper products. So you see some quills and vials of ink and things of that nature. In response to the door ringing, you could see that a familiar-looking gnomish woman kind of hops up onto what must be like a runner or a stool, maybe behind the counter, and peers over in the direction of the door. What do the twins look like?
They look like twins. So.
Do they just look like a female version of you, or is there...
Yeah, that's pretty close, yeah.
Okay.
Female version of me. I would like to think, but it's up to you, obviously, but I'd like to think that when I knew them, they looked pretty much identical, and I probably could have told them apart at that time, but now I couldn't. But what I don't know is that one of them's dyed their hair so that they are actually really easy to tell apart. But at this point, I'm just seeing one, correct?
Correct, yeah. And the one that you are seeing presently would be Kalina. Kalina looks like she runs the front. You could see she's got she's got an apron on, although it looks a little more pristine than you would imagine it would if she was back there running the presses. It may just be the sort of uniform they've adopted for the shop. And you can see that she has dyed her hair. So what is what is it, Tavandi? What is the Tavandi family hair? Are you guys all gingers, or is it raven-haired? Or I guess I don't know what you look like.
I don't know that I've even given myself. I'm sure.
Roll for it. 1d4.
1d4.
No.
I mean, I definitely see you as a silver fox myself, but
Yeah.
that's just what I got in my head canon.
Oh, you know what? I like that, though. I think like a silver, not gray, but a silver. It's like a natural...
Yeah, you've been like silver. It's like 20. This isn't gray. This is silver.
Right.
Yes, I like that. But I'm unique, and everybody else has kind of just dirty brown hair.
Gotcha. So then Kalina, we'll say that she's dyed her hair a stark black, almost as if she's like emptied out a whole toner or something into her hair from the back.
Looks natural. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Dark kid of the family.
Yeah. But
I dyed my hair black one time when I was a kid.
Well, I don't know. Just but you can see that as she kind of glances over in the direction, just kind of expecting to see a customer. Her jaw just kind of drops in shock. Perfect. Yeah, and she's speechless for the moment, it seems.
So Italian's eyes kind of narrow, and he says, "Cass, is that you?"
She just, her jaw, her mouth closes and just tightens into a frown, and she just glares at you for a moment.
Oh, Kalina, I'm sorry. It's been too long. How are you? How are you?
Yeah, you can
And
see
what's
that
with the hair?
what she does is she just like slowly just raises up her hand to present the back of it to you, and you can see you know that of your twins only Cassia manifested the dragon mark, and it was really one of the only two ways to tell them apart. But you could see just a bare flesh, and then she just slowly raises her middle finger just to seal that deal. But she just kind of shouts in the back like, "We've got company," and she slides over the counter and onto the floor, quickly pacing in your direction, and she just like throws her arms out to give you a hug.
And I throw my arms out and hug her really tight too. It's so good to see you. We don't even know what you were up to. I'm surprised that I found you, but it's so good to see you, even with this hair.
She says, "Yes, well, they had enough trouble telling us apart back at home, and many of these people here in Sharn can't tell one gnome from another, even if we're not related at all." And at this point, you could see coming out from the back, and her apron is just like smeared with all kinds of red, black, blue inks. And she's got like two leather gloves that she's just like peeling off, two heavy leather gloves, is Cassia. And she's kind of assessing the situation, like a little quizzical, trying to see who, because you and Kalina are same heights. And then when she sees that it's you, she just kind of like leans against the door frame and smiles and gives you a nod. Okay.
Cass, where's my hug?
I'm covered in ink.
That's okay. We're siblings. Your ink is my ink.
She starts to approach, and as she's walking over, Kalina kind of begins to explain. It's been a while. How long was it since we left home? And yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. How long would you say it's been?
Let me.
I don't know if there was a specific time. It's been a couple of years.
It's been 5 or 6. Well, actually, it's probably close to 6. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well then, yeah. As Kalina's doing this, you can see since she has the clean hands, she's actually like you can see her wiping away maybe just a little bit of mist. But 5 or 6 years in a gnome's lifespan is it's maybe equivalent to like 2 or 3 in a human's. Kalina just kind of explains to you. Now that she's kind of collecting herself and Cassia's coming over, Cassia says, "You're not taking us back there."
No, I wouldn't dream of it. Listen, you guys got the right idea getting out when you could. I mean, I'm out here exploring too now. I'm making a name for myself. Perhaps you've heard of me. Perhaps not. I mean, you actually knew me, so maybe you haven't heard of me, but I'm working hard. I've got, I'm doing good stuff. So you made the right decision.
Yeah. We like to think so. Came out here trying to make a name for ourselves without banking on House Civis or House Devandi. And we've done all right. And Cassia just kind of like sweeps her dragon-marked hand about to kind of emphasize the shop. And it's cluttered in here. There are a number of products that you imagine are sitting unsold, that they would rather see sold. But you could see kind of behind the counter, they have several boxed up looking like orders ready to go out. And Cassia goes on to say, times were a little difficult without prestigious names to get by on, but we used what we had to scrape together for this shop, and the first few years were a bit lean. Then last summer, we got the contracts for 3 months. 3 consecutive months of the Tane Galas. And that particular infusion of gold allowed us to appease most of our debtors. So things are going much better now, aren't they? And Kalina is nodding. That typically, you think, well, make an insight check for me.
Okie dokie. 12.
Your read on this situation is, it strikes you as odd that Kalina's being as quiet as she is. She was always the much more diplomatic of the pair of them. And Cassia's skills were more of the calligrapher's skills. And when she manifested the dragon mark, the dragon marked magic and whatnot. With a 12, you don't detect any outright deception. But what I will say is it strikes you as weird that Cassia is talking as much as she is, and she kind of goes on to kind of talk about some of the successes that they've had, mostly that Tane Gala thing was the biggest windfall for them that kind of set them aright. But it seems to you that she's talking and Kalina's kind of looking to her to talk, which is a different dynamic than you're accustomed to. But yeah, she goes on to explain that they thought that the Tane Gala, the invitations for the Tane Gala, they almost hardly made. They made quite a bit of money, but they could have made quite a bit more if they hadn't sank so much into the materials needed to be so impressive. And they had kind of hoped that this would open up the doors for them to do all of the high nobles. Invitations for their banquets and things like that. But they've kind of found that most of the highest end nobles won't touch them now simply because it's been done. Like the name is known, and you need to find another, like, it's like they're all hipsters basically. Like you have to find an invitation maker that before they get big kind of situation. So they've mostly gotten by now with smaller accounts and things of that nature, although they're doing well. And as they're talking, mostly Cassia, as I said, they're also showing you around and showing you some of their work and their calligraphy, and you see more playbills and things of that nature for the theater district.
Well, we're gonna continue to kind of talk and stuff, and toward the end, I'm gonna first I'm gonna say, well, listen, guys, I was wondering, like I told you when I first came in here, I'm making a name for myself currently, but it'd be nice to have some kind of maybe some calling cards, so maybe I could give you some ideas. Maybe you could make some calling cards for me. I'd love to pay you for them. I mean, don't have a ton of money, but maybe the sibling discount between us would be enough to kind of cover any kind of extras. But yes, I mean, please, I'd love to do some business with you.
Kalina laughs and she says, well, we've always joked about charging family double, so the discount will only charge you 1.5 times.
That's good enough, I suppose. But listen, if you're going to charge me 1.5 times, I insist that we go out and we at least have a drink. I mean, surely right now you can close the shop for a little bit. We can go have a couple of drinks. You can come back. You can pay for the drinks since I'm paying 1.5. We can have a nice little. We can continue this reunion, but down at the pub, wherever you normally would go.
Let's see here. Yeah, definitely. Cassia says, "All right, so let me put a pin in where I was. Let me finish up what I was working on in the back, and then we can head on over to Smoky Towers. There's a few places that might not be too lively at this point, but things will pick up. It's a slow day here." And she kind of she looks over to Kalina and she says, "Are we expecting anyone to make a pickup?" And Kalina looks at her and says, you could see her think for a minute, just kind of processing it. No, not today. So Cassia heads off to the back to manage that whole situation. Go ahead and make one more insight check for me.
7.
You're so happy to see your family after so
I'm
long.
I'm really pumped.
It takes Cassie a few minutes to tidy up in the back. You can hear some gnomish swears as something falls over, and she says, I'll clean that up later." But yeah, in short order, they do close up the shop. They turn the sign around, and they head off with you. You actually end up at that Lazaran Principality's dance house, the Dreams of an Exotic Land. No. Sorry. And you end up having drinks with them there. They spend most of this time grilling you for info about the family. And they offer, after some drinks, come back to our place for dinner. We'll have dinner this evening. I'm sure you can you can spare us this much time. You must be busy.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, I know that my companions are up to something, but I don't think they need me just yet, and surely they can find me. I can't imagine that I'm too hard. Let me swing by where we're staying, leave a message in case they do come looking. But otherwise, yes, absolutely. I'd be happy to join you at your house. You live above the shop, is that correct?
It's big enough for the two of us. It's big enough for 2 gnomes, absolutely.
Perfect. Yes, let's do that. Let me go and leave a message in case anybody comes looking for me, and then I'll meet you over there. What time? Say 2 hours from now, about, give or take.
Yeah, we could put something together by then. And I got a bit of a mess to clean up in the workshop. So, yeah, but you have those drinks, and like I said, they grill you for information about the family. They're just wondering, how mother and father are doing, and what you're doing so far outside of your father's reach and things of that nature. So you guys just have a bit of back and forth and catching up over the last several years. You note again, I guess, that Cassia still seems to be the one doing most of the talking. You don't know if this is an indication of change in Kalina's general personality. Maybe it's the new hairstyle making her a bit more reserved, or it could be something else that you just can't quite put your finger on. Yeah, perfect.
So when we part, the last thing I'll say is, and good hair. I like that hair, Kalina. It's nice.
You can see she just she nods, not knowing if you're serious or not. I guess. Yeah, make a persuasion check, but with advantage because you guys have had a few drinks by now.
Let's say her.
What's that? You trying to figure out how to roll 2d20s?
Yeah, it's been so long. No, I was trying to remember what my little thing is. If it was a persuasion deal or not.
You can't roll lower than a 9 on persuasion, I believe, is part of your thing.
That's what I was thinking. So that would be a 16 then.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. She slowly just kind of like narrows her eyes and peers at you.
Sorry, that would be a 17. Sorry.
And she goes, yeah. It's time for a change. But yeah. You have those drinks. You spend some time just kind of reminiscing with them. They do invite you back for dinner. You go to drop a message at the Gold Dragon. I'll say for the purposes of catching you up to the primary timeline, the concierge he's seen you guys traveling together or whatnot. He would say like, "Oh yes, your friends they came in a short while ago. They loitered in the bar for a bit, and then they headed off for dinner, I think. So yeah, well, if I see any of your companions, I'll let them know."
A note or something? I seem to recall we left some message with the front desk.
Maybe. Probably. You guys are just making this concierge work overtime. Yeah. But I think you guys had come back basically after the university thing, and that's when you guys had met with Kane, the agent of the King's Dark Lanterns. So if you guys left a note, I wouldn't imagine it would have said more than back later or anything like that. So, but you guys will be synced back up here soon enough, I imagine.
I think it was simply something like we were going to dinner, like down in
Tavix
Syrian
Landing.
Town.
Yeah, Syrian Town. All right, perfect. Well, speaking of which, star wipe. After having traditional tea and biscuits at the Queen's Leaf, the party is headed for the Syrian restaurant, the Taste of New Sire, or Siri, depending. So I think you guys are already well into your dinner, and I would say that my notes say this food is what we might consider old world, or something like the depiction of Regency cuisine as seen in the media. So like I don't know anything about what I just imagine like butter and salt are present in nearly every dish without much else in the way of spices, and the clientele is mostly Syrian, and obvious refugees do come in and speak in hushed tones with the host. And you could see that the coming from the kitchen and being funneled through the host is a pretty much constant outgoing stream of takeaway. So there's people just coming in. You guys can make an insight check on to see what you read of that situation, I suppose. But similarly to the tea house, you can see that this restaurant is a pillar of a displaced community, essentially. Gideon, did you?
13 for insight.
Yeah. You could tell the people that are shuffling in, you think for a minute that you see the Syrian man that you shared the Spire Express with. I don't know that you ever caught his name, but just the general kind of drab and threadbare clothing of commoners who don't have a lot of coin seems to be the kind of influx for that. And your read of the situation is that this restaurant is of the habit of providing food to those who need it. So you...
I think there's a lot of that.
Yes, there is. Yeah,
it's a tea house as well.
Correct. Yeah, and you guys have, like I said, enjoyed at least a couple of courses. Presently, you're on to the main course. Which is a small pheasant or quail. They actually at one point they called them they called it the Syrian pheasant, but now because it's an endangered species perhaps, or at least a drastically displaced species. I think probably what happened is after the morning, the migratory cells of this bird never went back. They now call them the mourning doves, and it's Mourning. So this is mourning dove, a delicacy of Seer, newly prepared in its in its new capacity.
As before, I'm asking everyone to describe in detail what everything tastes like, since I have no actual taste buds and I want to participate. So I'm probably overly excitedly asking people, but what does it taste like? What does it smell like?
Butter sauce is a bit heavy, and the skin could be a bit crisper for my taste.
I imagine that's got to be complicated too, because I imagine a Dragonborn's palate is completely different. So you're probably getting something equally unhelpful from
from Azure.
Yeah, from Azure. Tastes like ozone, but she breathes lightning, so it's probably everything.
Part of the deal, yeah.
You guys are enjoying the meal. Everything has gone by fairly pleasantly. Gideon, as somebody who kind of keeps a sharp eye out, you're aware that everybody else in this restaurant looks like a Syrian. Some of them are a bit better dressed. Maybe they were tradespeople, or maybe even low nobility in their former homeland. the only other person in the restaurant that kind of sticks out to you is a Brelish man, seated a couple of tables away from you, and you've seen his server darting back and forth to his table pretty repeatedly. He strikes you as like a high maintenance customer, which you peg early on, but it becomes apparent to all of you when he begins berating his server kind of loudly, essentially to the tune of it begins with criticism about his morning dove being too dry, and it culminates with him saying something along the lines of, "Don't you know who I am? Do you have any idea what my review of this establishment can do? I'm Rand Kimball. I'm the food critic for the Tavik Tattle." And the waitress is just trying very demurely, like trying to calm him, and the hostess is kind of taking an interest at this point. She's looking and starting to come over. Do you guys have any immediate reaction to this, or any questions?
I would like to quickly make my way to their table and have a seat beside them.
You're gonna have a seat with Rand Kimball?
Yes. I'm sorry. Did I just overhear you correctly that you are a food critic?
Of course. I write for the Tavik Tattle. It's the finest broadsheet on this side of the Memphis Plateaus.
Oh, I'm sure I've never heard of that, but it sounds amazing. So you clearly have a really refined palate, and I'm having trouble understanding how the flavor works in this type of food. Would you be able to describe to me in excruciating detail what it tastes like?
You can see like he's instantly confused, and by now you've like sat down, and he's like realizing like that you're joining him, and he looks to his waitress and he says, or his server, and he says, "I demand a discount. I demand a refund. This is the worst Syrian cuisine I've had."
But why? And I will actually like take his spoon and start to like almost like I'm trying to feed him like a toddler. Like, but why is this the worst? That's
Ryan Gosling him.
At this point, like I've pushed back in my chair and just have a mug and I'm just watching.
Let's see where this goes.
The hostess has come over at this point, and she says, "Sir, apologies, of course, if our chef is not up to your standards this evening. Perhaps I can interest you and your dining companion here in a dessert tea." And Rand is like looks at you and like looks at this incoming spoon, and he's just like, What kind of?
I've never had a dessert tea before. That sounds amazing. Please, yes, one of those.
This thing is not with me. I was dining alone, researching, of course, for the Tattle. And what kind of establishment is this? Do you foist your mechanical servants on anybody who raises their voice in here?
Oh no, I don't work here. And then I'm going to keep edging the spoon closer to his mouth, like to the point that's like, I'm going to like trying to like wedge it in. Like, I'm not going to hurt him, but I'm going to like try to get it in there.
Make a persuasion check with disadvantage.
All right, let's do this. That would be a 2.
So I think part of your charm is usually that just sheer determined, you're going to see this through. So
well, it's also innocence. There's very rarely malice behind it. I think that comes across, but it's still not always appreciated.
Yeah, so angrily, he's just like looking at you, but apparently he doesn't purse his lips together quite tightly enough. And so you do slide the spoon in, at which point he just like turns his head, taking the spoon out of your hand, and just like plucks it out, and he says, "This is highly irregular. The cuisine and the atmosphere leave a bit to be desired here. I'll have my bill and be on my way." And you can see he's like starting to rifle silver pieces out.
It was nice to meet you.
He throws a handful of silvers on the table, and he starts like edging towards the door. Wow, yeah. He does not appreciate that. You have to check the tattle tomorrow to
I
see
guess
if
it's
you
an
made...
acquired taste.
Yeah. So as he's stomping out, you could see like he is starting to chew whatever food you just kind of like forced into his gob. It probably made his last minute shout there a little more indignant since he had food in his mouth.
Yeah.
But as he scrambles out, you could see that everybody, most of the patrons here are just kind of like looking at you. Some of them are just like confused, eyebrows raised. Some of them are like tisking and like looking over at your companions, like who they saw you sitting with at dinner, Gideon. as people kind of look sidelong at you for your wayward friend.
I just kind of shrug and go back to like picking the meat from the pheasant wing, like
Perfect.
with my hands, like fully aware. Like I've probably been schooled in etiquette and like which fork to use, but this has descended into such a farce that I'm just like pick it up and eat it.
Well, the waitress, nonetheless, she kind of looks over to you, Ghost, and she says, "Thank you. I can bring a dessert tea over for your table. Perhaps one of your companions can describe it to you more adequately than that buffoon."
That would be lovely.
Thank you.
And then I will make my way over there and sit back down. He was nice.
He didn't care much for your table service.
Well, I'm just disappointed. Like, you would think someone that writes about food for a living would be able to articulate, even if it isn't great food, why. It seems to me like he was just in a bad mood.
Or just an inflated ego. Maybe a little swollen.
Yeah.
The poking might have bruised him.
Yeah. And to your ear, to both of your ears, the Tavik Tattle is not a paper that either of you have any reference for. It seems quite possible that the city's different districts have different local, penny savers or whatever. But nonetheless, the rest of your dinner is uneventful by comparison. You do feel like, again, you gain a slight appreciation for the cuisine of Old Seer. But you also are absorbing a bit about the culture. I mean, specifically if Gideon is kind of cueing you in on what he's picking up. It seems like all of these businesses, especially at least here in Tavik's Landing, do just funnel a lot of their goods and a lot of their profits towards the betterment of the community here. So they're remaining very tight knit and trying to keep each other, up in these trying times since the morning. Is there anything specifically, Talion, any topic of conversation you want to broach with your sisters before you guys rejoin that evening at the Gold Dragon? You've had drinks, you've had dinner, you've had time to bring things up or to...
No, not really. I'd like to think that Talion's trying to take a really good hard look at the living area and stuff of the sisters, but that's about it.
Yeah, cluttered, uncleanly, lots of sketches of various calligraphy and things.
I want to know if they're okay.
Yeah.
Without actually asking them, "Are you okay?"
Yeah. They seem to be doing fine. It's obviously not as stately as their rooms would have been, in Zalargo, in Korenberg, I guess where you're. Yeah, I guess that's where you're from. But I mean, it looks like they are happy, and that's kind of what comes through, as you spend the evening with them. They do draw up some designs for different business cards for you, mostly over dinner. Just kind of Cassia keeps a sheet of parchment nearby her plate and just kind of sketches out a few things. And mostly the designs you can see emphasize emphasize the Talion and downplay the Till Devande part in the calligraphy. So they're also encouraging of you taking that leave and gaining that distance, it seems. But yeah, so
And to that effect, I want them to emphasize on the card that I'm an agent of House Civis as opposed to member of House Devande.
Intriguing. Secret agent. But the secret part is written in invisible.
Exactly.
That's one of Cassie's suggestions. So you guys both have pleasant dinners. Those of you kind of wandering back from Tavik's Landing find your way back to the Middle Memphis Plateaus, and you regroup. You find yourselves, let's say, just by serendipity, you're all walking into the lobby of the Gold Dragon at approximately the same time. The main group is kind of walking over to check their messages, and before the concierge can even relay the information, he goes, "Oh, yes, there he is, your traveling companion. By the way, for the knowledge of the group of you, now that you're all gathered here, your stay has been extended through Brightblade, which is, of course, the 13th. The day after Brightblade. Through the 13th, it has been paid for in advance by that party that you spoke with in the bar earlier." And he just like winks at you. To those of you in the know, Talion, you might just walk in and be like, "Did you guys?"
I like to pretend I know, so I'm just like,
Yeah.
And to that end, you guys can, feel free to talk amongst yourselves for a moment. Talion was not present when you all met with Kane just earlier this day, so.
Things, no dunks in the fountain.
no dunks.
Perhaps you can take care of yourself.
So what was that all about? What have you guys been up to that I don't know about?
We have a job.
Oh, I like jobs. Something that requires the smooth, silken words
You'll
of a
like
bard.
this much less.
Oh, well.
And
Nonetheless, I'm your man. Gnome. I'm your gnome.
yeah, go ahead,
Correct me if
Gideon.
I'm wrong.
Gideon,
was
if you
a-
want. Oh, go.
This was a reconnaissance job, basically, into the Lazar principalities to see what might be going on around the mountain that a ghost's vision told us about.
You're
And
right, except
may
for
or may
Droaam.
not-
Sorry, it's Droaam.
Droaam, sorry, my bad. And may or may not involve killing a whole bunch of hobgoblins.
Well, I did sign on for adventure, so when do we get to this delightful adventure of ours?
Apparently, the day
Curious.
after Brightblade.
The day after Brightblade.
I had anticipated leaving shortly, but it appears that our new employer, old employer, new employer, re-employer, wants us to stay through the holiday.
Yeah. And to that end, actually, speaking of employers, I don't know that you all have relayed. I'd have to check my notes. But I don't think there's any reason that you would not have, but I don't know specifically that you guys have communicated back with Codger since you've really been here. I mean, you came into town.
I thought Talion sent a Civis message like as soon as we got the
When we
gem.
got here.
No, after we dropped off the gem.
Oh, did he? Yeah. Well, then maybe my archives are incomplete. Does
I'm
that
just
sound
gonna
right?
say he did. I really
Okay.
don't remember.
I don't
Sounds
know.
like
I
something
do.
he would have done.
Well, and Azure's correct. I do
Unless he
I
was
recall
drunk,
you making
which is
like
also
a-
something he would do.
I recall you making an effort to do that at one point.
I
Well,
remember.
I know. I for sure sent him a message when we arrived. I do remember that.
Okay.
But,
I was gonna say I remember specifically you sent him a message after the attack on the train, like at that next stop. Because then you received a message back from him and a letter from your father, which I still have a copy of here somewhere.
What I want to say when we were in Sharn, and I'm pretty sure it was right
Okay.
after we finished dropping off the gem.
Perfect. Okay. Well, yeah, so then to that end, Kajer has not communicated back with you as of yet. You still have the kind of secure House Civis address to reach him at. But yeah, this would be different intelligence organ, same nonsense it seems.
So, all right, how much do I trust Codger? How much do I trust Codger?
He's an open operator of the trust, which means that he's already upfront about the fact that maybe you shouldn't trust him, but only maybe specifically if you intend harm for Zalargo. Like, as a good Zil, you're probably fine. But I don't know. I guess it's up to you.
All right, so I do think that that's kind of where I'm at, is just in between level. But I did not know about this new employment until just recently, and so I am going to send another message to him, but I'm going to send it with my illusory script, so that to him it says, we just picked up this new job. Is it okay? But on the outside, if anybody else were to pick it up, it simply says staying at and has our location.
Perfect. So you just grab like a piece of gold dragon paper, like a piece of paper with the gold dragon letterhead.
Yeah.
Wish you were here.
Wish you were here.
So yeah, this type of enchantment is of course second nature to you, even as somebody who didn't manifest the mark. Just with your ties to House Civis, you can conceal your meaning. Is there anything? What's the gist of the message? Just that are you telling him that you're being offered additional employment, or are you just saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just offered additional employment, and actually, not necessarily the details, but definitely the where that we're talking about, and kind of maybe specifically indicating that we could be killing a whole bunch of creatures.
Droaamites.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you're able to put that in eloquent words, or perhaps bluntly. And to also fill in some of the blanks, the exact details of the assignment and the exact details of the reward weren't really discussed at length. Kane actually had... You guys, I think, were privy to more information than Kane had. So he was taking your latest report, basically, on the situation, and he was going to run it by his superiors and bring it back. But the request by Gideon was for travel expenses and a quarter up front. So those were the terms that were dictated. A quarter of what remains to be seen. To move things along, over the course of the next few days, deliveries arrive at the Gold Dragon from the university's artificers and mage rites. You find that your rooms have been paid in advance through Nim the 13th, the day after Brightblade. A ghost, you can spend this time studying for your correspondence course, visiting the university's library, etc.
I also want to make a point to pick up that tattle paper and
the next
reading it.
Yeah. It we'll say it publishes the next day just for the sake of convenience.
Sure.
And you do find you do find Rand Kimball's column. I was trying to think if he had a nice witty name for it. Kimball's Crumbles. Kimball's Crumbles, where he notes local restaurant reviews. It seems like his restaurant reviewership spans from the cogs all the way up through Upper Tavik's Landing, but only the finest restaurants in Tavik's Landing. You could see that Kimball has given this establishment 2 crumbs. It's one of his lower ranked ones. But there is some talk about the atmosphere being disrupted by other what word would he use? Other strange patrons. The dry morning dove, bitter teas. He just kind of drags the place. But that's as much of a mention as you get, unfortunately. You could see that the rest of his reviews, nothing really seems to rate for him above 3 stars. But you also see the names of some restaurants that are like Uncle Karn's Meat and Go, like things like that. Like you get the idea that he's not visiting the finest establishments.
Wrong with Uncle Karn's?
Gideon wants the address.
I mean,
I've eaten there for breakfast 4 times already.
Yeah.
How many
Also-
times have you had diarrhea?
4 times already.
5 times. I woke up and thought about it the next day.
One was kind of 2 was actually one. Never mind. But I'm going to assume this guy actually knows what he's talking about. So if he gave a restaurant 3 stars, I'm going to want to check that restaurant out. So
Sure, okay.
Well, I'm treating this like a Michelin thing. Like anything 3 stars above, that's a go-to for me. But I only to get someone else to tell me what the food tastes like.
Perfect. Okay. So you can, yeah, you can.
If you can't eat or taste anything, it's becoming a food critic.
Yeah.
You bender?
Yeah. So all of you guys are, over the course of the next few days, let's just knock off about 5 gold for expenses. That's food, drink, transport, moving back and forth between the towers and things like that. Gideon on one of the days, a university mage right comes over to fit you for your armor and for final adjustments. You are met in your room, and this meeting in particular is attended by not Fedic Doring. I wrote Fedic Doring. That would be the wrong guy. This is Balnor Constan, the history professor you met.
The guy I drank with.
Yeah, the guy that was grilling you for old war stories, and then you guys had a pleasant time. Balnor Constan. The mage right, you're actually maybe a little impressed. He sets down like a toolbox and opens it up, and you can see that it unfolds into a staircase. It looks like he has like an extra dimensional workshop that he keeps nearby. So they're measuring for like the leather straps on the interior of the breastplate, and making some final measurements. You're seeing the nearly finished product. And you're probably impressed with the craftsmanship. An adamantine breastplate, yes?
It was split nail, actually.
Adamantine splint mail. Gotcha. So that's a comprehensive piece, but yeah, they've been working on it for several days, and this should be the final measurements here.
I'll tell them if I'm assuming they probably have, freshman students who are learning to work mail for the first time, or they need things to repair or the like. I offer to give them donation my old hauberk, basically, to spare parts or practice for the new one, or hazing. Here, freshie, undo every chainmail link by hand.
The Dwarven mage writes, the smith who's kind of taking your measurements, looks it over. Carnathi make must have traveled a long way with you. Few dents and scratches, a couple of good stories. Well, if you don't want to carry it any longer, I'd certainly take it off your hands. Appreciate it.
Take the upgrade.
Balnor, as this is going on, kind of sidles up to you. He pulls out his flask, takes a swig of it, and holds it out in your direction. As you guys are seated in the workshop. Balnor tells you that
Just watching this. Like, I'm probably standing there in maybe not nothing, but next to nothing, getting fitted for armor.
Eh,
Okay.
dragon, I don't care.
Okay.
He likes to watch.
I've got a bit of a interesting proposal for you, perhaps, Gideon.
Indecent, perhaps?
Let me sleep with your
Please
old
tell
armor.
me if it requires pants.
Yeah. He nods. Indeed.
Keep going. I'll be right back.
In the days leading up to Brightblade, the whole city seems to throw into the celebrations, and I happen to know the organizers of a fighting pit operation in Cornerstone that runs only during Brightblade. That's the only time it's tasteful for these sort of things to be sanctioned. I have happened to have heard from my friends that they are one short. They're in need of a combatant. It would be the night of Nim the 11th. You would just simply have to make an appearance at the King of Fire in Harith's Folly. Tell them that Balnor vouches for you. And it's not to the death or anything so uncivilized. Your opponent can yield. I expect that he will.
One-on-one, groups. How's the tournament structured?
One-on-one, unfortunately. I know I haven't met your companions, but I've heard of them through the university grapevine.
I kind of nod, kind of knock the shoulder plate as this is being fitted. Put it through its paces, perhaps.
Yeah. He nods. Actually, let me correct something here. So, this is a fighting pit operation that takes place outside of Cornerstone. You would know that Cornerstone is like the arena district, and it's over in Middle Tavix Landing, so that's why it's been so busy over there. And you guys were temporarily considering finding lodging over in Tavix Landing, but you...
Nothing wrong. We went through there on our way to the Little Sire. Seer.
Yeah, precisely. So this is a fighting pit operation outside of Cornerstone. So King of Fire, Harith's Folly. I think you would have to make an intelligence check to know where those are. Not that you couldn't ask him, but I don't know if you would search your own.
13.
I think you've heard of the King of Fire. It is a Harith's Folly is in the Middle Dura, so it's the west side. It's the opposite side of the city of Sharn, from the west side. You would know Harith's Folly. A lot of gambling takes place there, particularly during the Race of the Eight Winds. That's when the coin and the coin is flowing and fists are flying all throughout Harith's Folly. That things get pretty spirited around that time. But the King of Fire is just in the Eberron. A deck of cards in the world of Eberron. The suits are replaced, I believe, by the elements. So the King of Fire is a card in a deck of cards. But yeah, it's a tavern full of gambling over in Harith's Folly. You've heard of it by reputation. So yeah, you would know where it is.
I pose to my companions. Want to watch me get beaten up for a while?
But if you do that,
Strangely, yes.
Not against me, now would you?
no, never.
I'll add one more caveat. I should have. Balnor does say. Your companions, though, I could arrange for them to have a box, semi-private. It would be shared with just a few.
I would
other
love a box.
individuals.
What is that?
You're not in the room. He's just telling this to Gideon.
From outside.
Yeah, you just burst out of the closet. Well, yeah. So he does offer you. He says your companions will be shown to a box for the evening to await your bout.
What if I don't want to be in a box?
Can't put Talion in a box.
That's right.
Step
Can't
one,
box me up.
get a box.
Hiding behind the nose.
Well, Gideon really is thinking. Well, I mean, has he told us yet? Have you told us? Are we still having a conversation simply between?
We can fast forward. This is all over the period of a few days.
Oh,
So
cool.
Gideon, what would you tell them about the offer?
Oh yeah, I've been invited to participate in a tournament. You guys would have box seats if you're so inclined. Might be a chance to make a little extra coin while I'm in the city.
So this is a crowded venue with
Certainly,
gambling.
I've not been to the King of Fire yet, but from what I've seen so far and heard so far, it seems to be well frequented.
A lot of money exchanging hands. A lot of money purses.
Most
maybe,
commonplace for this holiday.
Yes. Sounds like fun.
Before it becomes important, I did roll my rolls for my divine sense power, and I got a 4 and a 5. So that's what I'm working with tonight.
Good to know. You can
Don't
bet,
rely on you when I really need to hit something.
or if he bets against you, he can really just. We don't know if he's Quirrell or Snape muttering in the audience. Like, so
I don't know about that. Out of the three in my contingent, I probably trust a ghost the most.
That's fair. It's fair.
I wouldn't intentionally harm you.
No, you would absolutely
accidentally.
misinterpret everything, but at least I
Yes.
know you're gonna do that.
well, yeah. By the way, hi Jules. How are you?
Hi. Yes, good. I've been rescued from underneath 2-year-old.
Awesome. So starting on the night of the 9th of Nim, almost every tavern, fest hall, and etc. begins hosting competitions. Arm wrestling, foot races, etc. begin cropping up in most of the city's districts. Even the reviews in Smoky Towers over the next few nights become reenactments of battles and things of that nature, and less musicals and juggling and more dagger throwing and feats of strength. The Cornerstone District in Middle Tavix Landing has an arena where jousts and merciful melee tournaments are held. And near that is the Stone Trees, where you all, as compliments of the Gold Dragon, are given tickets to the shifter game known as Hrashchak matches that occur there between many teams. In particular, you guys are comped a pair, or a set of tickets rather, to a game between the Crimson Claws and the Black Snouts. So, yeah, like I said, I'm kind of breezing through this. If there's anything in particular you guys want to accomplish over these days, let me know. What's that?
You're really low, Jules. I can hardly hear you.
Yeah.
Is there a sports betting kind of organization, legal and or illegal?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's almost always legal to bet on, like, there are some things that happen down lower in the cogs and things that like are arranged by the Boromar and the Dask clan, like cockatrice fights and things of that nature that are illegal to bet on. But I would say, like, throughout Sharn, gambling is mostly legal, and in particular, your winnings aren't specifically taxed during Brightblade, so it's even better times. Did you want to bet on the Hrashchak game, or on just any fights that you see, or just everything?
I kind of want to put something down for in favor of the Red Claws to win
Okay.
with Black Snow. And who's this guy fighting? first?
You guys haven't gotten there yet. That's happening on the 11th. So this is like I said, all unfolding over a couple of days.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, okay. You can bet on the Crimson Claws. The Crimson Claws are favored to win, you find. Actually, the unique thing, this game is typically limited to shifters, at least like on a professional level. And it's also like, I mean, culturally and historically, it's their game. But it's also like vicious with like teeth and claws and just no holds barred for the most part. So humans aren't necessarily as well equipped as shifters to deal with that. The black snouts are the underdogs, almost quite literally, because this is a team of gnolls. So yeah, you can make a wager on the Crimson Claws though. Just go ahead and just to represent a few days, or a couple of bets and things of that nature. Just make a. Are you proficient in? I guess gambling isn't a proficiency. Are you proficient? I mean, your cards. I would say you can make a check, because we know that you are a gambler. I'll let you add your proficiency bonus and your wisdom bonus, and then I'll make.
I would like to wander around the most packed places that I can find and try and steal people's money.
Wow, I mean, Tavik's Landing is overflowing with folks now. So,
I mean, I'm an expert in sleight of hand, so this is kind of what I do.
Okay, let's go to Azure first. Azure made a low roll.
Roll 3.
A 3? Okay.
I can make it a 5.
Yeah, I think I lost that bet.
In a stunning upset. The
But
Black
perhaps
Scouts
you
routed them
shouldn't
by
have
16
lost it.
points.
Maybe you don't. Maybe you think there's some funny business going on, because that was a sure thing that you bet.
That's true. It's kind of like the playoffs the past, couple days.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm sure there are so many things to bet on that you're placing all kinds of side bets, and you're hedging bets, and you're like what you like. I think you would probably walk by a group just hearing them talk about odds and be like, all right, I want it. Like you don't even know what you're betting on. But as you guys are all kind of winding through Cornerstone doing that, Talion, go ahead and make a sleight of hand check for me, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's a 20.
Woof.
Or is it a 5?
Oh!
Just kidding. I wouldn't do that.
Brutal. All right, Talion, I got you. Here's what happens. So as you guys are drawing near the Hrashchak arena, I don't know how to say that. It makes me feel like I'm speaking Klingon. Hrashchak.
Or from Dune, the Hashrak, Shatterack. Or...
Yeah, the Hrashchaks. They left me subpar equipment. You guys see a group of protesters. You could see that they're holding various signs, just saying like "Shifters go home." You see that one of them reads "No wares here," and it's WERES, no wares here. It seems like there is a very small but vocal group of Silver Flame missionaries here protesting the oft celebrated shifter sport. Talion, as there's one gentleman there with a megaphone, kind of speaking with like a bit of a noble lilt or affectation to him. And when I say megaphone, I guess I mean just like a speaking trumpet. Shifters go home, things of that nature. These are not but mud-blooded lycanthropes who we allow to prowl among us. You bump into him, you fish into his pocket, and you. Yeah, let's see. You come out with a nice, nicely sized coin purse. You'd have to count it at another time. But for somebody who seems to be a member of the clergy or whatever, it seems like this is a little weightier than you would expect. But
seriously dislike the Cult of the Silver Flame. If this guy's out protesting and I'm like in full armor and such, I might make a scene.
You can see that largely the crowd is ignoring him. I mean, these people all came to see a Hrashchak game. They have no problem with the shifters, but I mean, this guy, Is this like a lean into it? Are you going to make an intimidation roll? Yeah.
I might actually. I like.
They bet on
I
this
mean,
too.
this is like
you put a
these
bet
are
on this.
these are the primary opponents and the people that sacked the city that like I was last in Karnak. Like
Okay.
Yeah.
they're zealots.
So are you gonna get physical?
I might get up in his face a little bit,
Oh, jeez.
especially if I'm sporting the new duds and like
This is
I
gonna
think
turn
I'm
into
going to.
a Nazi
some
punching
stats for
video.
So I'm gonna see
That's
that
a
you're getting
15.
like oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm not even gonna give you
15.
my little enhanced ability. I was gonna give you some extra points, but you got
Total.
this.
Yeah.
Oh, you've never. I'm sorry.
I'm not actually that intimidating of a dude,
I think you
which is
are.
weird because I'm built like as I wrote in my background, I'm built like an NFL fullback.
Yeah, you're a little scary
Huge
sounding.
dude,
Yeah.
big beard,
So you just kind of
heavy arm.
you stalk up to the edge of the crowd. You see this unfolding. Your companions are about to move by. You can see that Talion is kind of like walking in and kind of smiling and as he walks towards you, but then he kind of sees the serious expression you've taken on. And you all kind of notice that Gideon is imposing his will a bit on this. You can see that the lead one, a couple of the protesters take note of you, and they like two of them just kind of like lower their signs a little bit, or like turn around to like face the other part of the plaza outside the arena. The one with the speaking trumpet actually locks eyes with you for a moment. What did you say you got, a 15?
15, yeah.
He locks eyes with you, and he continues speaking through his trumpet, and he just kind of like gives you like a little bit of stink eyes. So you've intimidated a couple of his underlings, but he has a little bit more resolve.
Like push the issue a little bit. I'm gonna go up and just. I'm assuming this is. I don't know if it's made of wood or like, or if it's
Yeah, I mean he's standing on like maybe a small wooden soapbox, structure. Everybody else has just kind of got wooden signs and things.
I meant
that.
like the speaking horn.
Oh, yeah. Let's say why not? It's cheap. It's light. It's like a cheap light wood.
Cardboard
Balsa
type
wood.
stuff.
Sure.
If that's the case, I'm gonna just snatch it and not really caring about grabbing it. Like if I smash it, that's fine, but just that's enough.
So as you like go to put your hand over the diameter of it, you just like even in your anger, you just close your hand and it just like crumples, and you can see like he just like stared you down as you approached. He sees you do this and he just kind of frowns a bit and he goes, we have the right to assemble here. But even that is lost as some of the people around you are like, like you hear a cheer and some clapping kind of begin from the crowd as they're filtering through the arena.
They have a right to not be harassed by zealots like you. And if the edge is anywhere near, I'm just gonna like chuck the crumpled thing over the edge. Like,
Yeah. I would say there's enough of a crowd here. I mean, you could just toss it into the crowd. It might bean someone or it might just fall underfoot, but...
not really throwing it hard, just...
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Well then, yeah, a couple more cheers go up. Now they can't hear his response, but he just kind of... you can see that some of his people are kind of edging up behind him to lend him a little backup, but they a woman that's with him just kind of places a hand on his shoulder and just kind of like nudges him back from you ever so slightly. So yeah, what was that?
Would wreck you.
Yeah, and I would say like you walking around in armor and armed, like specifically during Brightblade when shows of martial prowess are like a thing. Nobody would bat an eye at you, and everybody would probably take appraisal of your new armor and go like, yeah, this guy's serious. So those protesters, they shuffle off a little bit. They take their signs and they start to head a little further away from the arena. It was going to start soon anyway. You're sure they're telling themselves. Nobody's going to be walking by here in a few minutes.
If they're dispersing, I'll leave. I'm good.
Gotcha.
I've made my point.
All right.
Really don't like silver play.
Yeah,
Let's see here.
makes sense.
So did they leave their signs?
No, they took those with them. They were just little handheld dealies. I would say, Azure, you bet on the Crimson Claws, and you guys take in their hash check match. And the Gnolls, you can see that these Gnolls have learned to play the game quite well. And the group of Gnolls seems to kind of have drawn in a lot more quote-unquote monstrous races, perhaps, than you're accustomed to seeing. With the Boromar and the Dask clans here in town, you don't. It's not that it's uncommon to see orcs and the like, but there are the crowd is a pretty nice contingent of orcs and other gnolls and goblins and hobgoblins and things like that, all cheering for the Black Snouts. But the Crimson Claws do win. I would say after the few days of betting, though, with your low wisdom roll, I think you lost a little more than you gained. so you probably let's say you're down another 8 gold, let's say, over the particularly at night. But you did. I mean, let's say the Crimson Claws did win, so that offsets some of your losses. Particularly at night, after you guys have taken in that game, things become more raucous, and in the mid to upper levels, the watch presence is increased. The best Skyblade matches happen at night over Harith's Folly, as mounted warriors joust from Griffin and Hippogriff back. Many going to, from, and about this district are already wearing the colors and crests of their favored team for the race of the 8 Winds. So we'll say we're on the night of the 11th. You guys are probably approaching Harith's Folly. And you guys know, of course, the teams of the race of the 8 Winds. Let's all say them together. The Eagle, the Gargoyle, the Glidewing, the Griffin, the Hawk, the Hippogriff, the Owl, and the Pegasus. And in particular, as you guys are taking the Sky Cab over to Harith's Folly, you are seeing supporters of all of those out in droves. You make your way...
It's World Cup weekend in Char.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the actual race of the 8 Winds is actually a few months off. It's 1.5 months away, but because Brightblade is a celebration of competition, athleticism, and things like that, this is a perfect time for everybody to rep their colors. On the night of the 11th, as you guys board a sky cab to head to Harith's Folly and the King of Fire, you hear kind of a rough voice kind of call out over the crowd. You guys have just kind of picked through to get to your sky cab, and he says, "Hold it! I'll share that cab with you." You guys look over, and you can see that he's changing his voice, and he does have his hood up. But at least 3 out of the 4 of you do recognize that this is Kane, the agent of the Dark Lanterns, Knights Citadel. You guys actually don't. I don't think he was very forthcoming with. He said he served the crown, and he didn't really get into the particulars. But you guys, these are all known entities to some extent.
We're not fine print kind of people, so
Yeah.
Who's this guy?
Yeah, so apparently you all look and give each other knowing nods, which cues Talion in. the sky cab alights and kind of joins into the traffic. I would say, well, we'll say this is like a carriage where you guys are seated in like an enclosed carriage, and the driver is, out. Who's this guy? Does anybody address Talion's question?
Don't want to know.
I thought you knew him.
Oh, yeah. I hold the door so he gets in before me.
Gotcha. So he does introduce himself to you then, Talion. He says, I'm known by Kane to this lot in particular. You weren't with them last I saw, but by reputation you travel with them a bit, yes?
Well, just by reputation.
Well, let's just say an old friend of mine vouched for you. He set you on this operation, brought you to this city. Not that I'm looking to run you out of it, but I have opportunities for the lot of you that would take you elsewhere. And that's what I've come to discuss.
You think he means codger?
He goes, thank you.
He nods.
And just quickly, like this whole time, because I don't want to go backwards, but this whole time, this week has been passing, a ghost has been pledging to fraternity. And so every time we're out, I'm wearing a different hat and like a tie that's around me that's not tightened very well. And part of my hazing is that I'm supposed to start an impromptu improv game. So I'm constantly just walking into groups, yes-anding things, trying to get this going. And so far, it has not worked. So that's just been going on in the background of everything else that's been happening this whole time.
Very good. A different hat. Have you seen Mazes and Monsters?
Not in a very, very long time, but yes.
That is literally one of the characters, one character's defining trait is like he has a different hat on every scene, and it drove me crazy. I don't know why.
I think I've got like a pirate, sort of like the sideways
tricorn
on silver hat on for today.
Perfect. It probably seems to Kane as like less standout than the unicorn horn that you've been wearing for all the days prior. So he takes it in stride. You can see he pats a satchel at his side, and you can hear the jingle of coin in it as well. And he says, some terms have been agreed to by my superiors. And I hope that the city has been accommodating to you so far. You'll enjoy the celebrations of Brightblade and then be on your way shortly, if this is all agreeable to you. In advance, regardless of the outcome of this venture, and assuming your subtlety and grace in navigating this and in keeping the secrets hereafter, a pittance, 250 gold pieces to each of you. Upon return to Breland, if the crown is satisfied that at least 2 of these 3 conditions are met, an additional 750 gold pieces for the lot of you. And the terms are this. You must provide honest testimony or evidence regarding the Fang's involvement with the leadership in Droaam, whether they are receiving the aid of the provincial governments, whether they are headed secretly by the daughters themselves, or whether you have proof that neither of those things is true. And again, honest testimony or evidence regarding the Fang's involvement with the leadership in Droaam or lack thereof. The exact location of their headquarters, and he's numbering these, so this is condition 2. You guys have a rough approximation of it. You know that it lies somewhere north of the crag, and you know that it's in those stone lands out there, but I want you to come back to work with a cartographer and put a pin right on top of that dusty rock. And honest testimony or evidence that you have disrupted the operation of the Fangs in some noticeable way. Sabotage their...
We'll go ahead and say that's the first one we're going to do. The other 2, maybe.
You're quite
We're good at
disruptive.
disruptions.
Yeah, Kane looks at you like a jinx. Like he's like, hmm. In addition to the above, if things go well, you'll be granted a bronze lion accommodation to be awarded in secret presently, but publicly 1 year and 1 day from your return from Droaam. Now, as you might imagine, if you go in and you cause a scene and the terrorists that are the Fangs are dispatched and suddenly we are heaping laurels upon an adventuring group for no reason, this may strain relationships with Droaam. That is why the award will be given in secret for 1 year and 1 day until the events are declassified. Now, that being said, members of the intelligence organization of Breland will be aware of your service, and the Bronze Lion is not the highest accommodation that we give to non-citizens of Breland, but it's a decent one. It would mark you as friends. Captains of guards and such may be privy to such information if they inquire. And then once it's made public knowledge, you can trade on that for whatever you'd like. But again, 1 year and a day, lest we offend our neighbors, the Droaam. Lastly, if the Fang's operation is significantly disrupted, whether you've had them drummed out of Droaam, or arrested by the government, or destroyed their headquarters, the majority is slain, or their leader is detained or disposed of. In other words, if suddenly our ambassador's son should become unpetrified while you're away, we will assume that that is your doing. This would be deserving of a great reward. Land is something that they are simply not making more of. The Treaty of Thronehold is sealed. The borders are not expanding. Here in Sharn, they pile crap upon crap, and the towers get higher, but the real estate is always at a premium. I can't promise you anything here. What I would promise you, there is a 3-story structure, formerly an inn and tavern in Gallispire, that has been seized by the Crown as a foreclosure. It's currently in our coffers. A seemingly legitimate arrangement would be struck to transfer the ownership of this structure over to the 4 of you. And you could arrange to buy each other out or consolidate it or even sell it off if you intended to. But it would be yours to do with as you please. The Crown's involvement in signing it over to you would be concealed by all manner of bureaucracy I don't understand. And it would be to our advantage, perhaps, if you proved yourself that resourceful and that helpful to tie you with a vested interest to Breland. But that is the highest reward, available only for significant accomplishment in the field.
So I'm not saying this out loud, but you know how like sometimes castles and keeps have names? If we get this, I want to name it the Crown Secret Gift. Then everybody said,
Please, please, please.
I mean, so stupid.
part of our terms were also transportation. How are we getting there?
You'll pass through Gallispire. You can even...
I meant like the Droaam.
I took your meaning, yes. You'll pass through Gallispire. It'll give you time, perhaps, to inspect this property and determine if you think it's worth risking your necks for. While there, I would suggest you avail yourself of a House Deneth caravan. Perhaps resourceful individuals such as yourselves could get hired on and travel with them. From Gallispire here in the western reaches of Breland, those take the Orion trade road all the way through to Droaam. Traveling with them is likely the safest option. Don't bandy about, of course, that you're doing anything on behalf of the Crown. I must stress that enough. There was some thoughts from within the organization that perhaps we could furnish you with ranks equivalent to blade barks in House Deneath, and secure you cover identities in that regard. I didn't think that this group would have the subtlety necessarily needed for that, and you can see he's glaring at a ghost as he
I'm
says this.
blissfully ignorant at this moment. I've got my captain's hat. I'm like straightening it in like a mirror.
And I'm gonna
I
reach over.
suppose it would be very difficult for anyone in this group to go incognito.
I'm gonna reach over and touch Ghost just because I think it's funny, and I'm gonna cast invisibility on him so he just becomes invisible immediately.
Nice.
Ah!
Yeah, you're invisible. You can't even close your eyes. Your eyelids are invisible. It's like, it's probably a nightmare. Not
Don't worry, it'll wear
eyelids.
off.
Yes, but he kind of gestures and he says, if you think it would be better to travel under false names and for us to dabble in deceiving one of the 12, I can do so, but you would vouch for your friend that he wouldn't ruin the whole thing.
Not necessarily even false names, but just credentials and papers for passage would be useful.
A letter of introduction to show that you have good standing as caravan guards and with one of the trading costers in Breland. That's likely the best I can do.
I think a reasonable
That would get you hired.
middle ground.
Then you can leave it to your friend to get you fired. And he gestures at the invisible. But hopefully not before you've reached the country's borders. Crossing with them will certainly raise less questions.
If he's willing to get us that, these are agreeable terms to me.
He nods. Sounds doable. I will bring those by where you are staying. And again, depart after Brightblade. There will be traffic scattering from the city. It'll be easy to lump in with those. This must not seem like a direct attack. I do not want Droaam to think that we are violating borders that they consider sovereign. Note, the Treaty of Thronehold does not necessarily recognize the validity of Droaam's claim, but nevertheless, we don't want to provoke outright war, especially if you determine that the Fang's involvement with the local government is non-existent. If they're truly acting on their own behalf, I wish the daughters would crush them, as I'm certain they could, but don't go into their backyard making a loud and flaming mess, and then traipse back into Breland, waving flags of victory and drawing the attention on us. Yeah. Since those terms are agreeable, all of this belongs to you. And he kind of takes off the satchel and holds it out in your direction. The sky carriage is reaching its destination. You can hear the cabbie kind of give a couple of stomps to let you guys know he's going to be dropping you at Harith's Folly in just a moment. Any other questions, comments, or concerns for Kane in that time?
Money.
Yeah. 250 gold each. 750 gold upon your return to Breland if you satisfy those conditions.
Possibly a house.
Yeah. Well, Kane, he grumbles and changes his voice a bit, and as he swings the door open, he says, pleasure to meet the lot of you. If you ever need any lanterns, you know where to find me. And he kind of begins to stalk off, kind of keeping up his cover in front of the carriage driver. Harith's Folly, at night, during the build-up to Brightblade, this place is crazy. There's like torch jugglers and sword swallowers performing on the corners. You just hear like drum beats and the shouts of raucous, drunken revelers and things of that nature. But you find your way shortly to the King of Fire, the large sign out front, just an oversized version of the card from the deck, with two actual burning flames at the corners. Harith's Folly is crazy. But that being said, you appear within the King of Fire. You make your way to the barkeep and let them know that that Balnor vouches for you. And you guys do find in short order that essentially there's like a large gambling area towards one end, normally where they have like card tables. It looks like they pulled up those card tables and built kind of like half palisades around like the sunken in pit, and made like an impromptu fighting pit essentially within the King of Fire itself. There are several levels that overlook that area, maybe like another 4 floors that kind of reach up above that, and you can see that some of those floors have like roped off sections indicating boxes basically overlooking this ramshackle sort of arena. Anything you would like to know? Oh, probably a prize purse. Yeah, instead of participating in a tournament per se, you are participating in just one battle. Your opponent, basically, it looks like the opponents are chosen by lots. And so you won't know your opponent and he won't know you until the time of the match. You'll be like the third matchup this evening. And the prize pool is actually substantial for kind of like these, it's an unauthorized pit fight essentially. But it's still only like 25 gold for the winner, 10 gold for the loser. It's not substantial. It's more just, it's a nice little pittance. Yeah. I would say the winner's also, if you win a bout, you couldn't buy a drink for the remainder of the evening. Your drinks will come to you unendingly. Maybe the same if you lose, depending on who's bet on you.
How well you lose.
Yeah. Those of you who are only spectating, you guys are attended by one of the organizers who's introducing the operation to you. And as you guys get near the pit, it's very crowded, like elbow to elbow. Aside from 2 floors up where they've kind of roped off private viewing areas. You're told basically, Gideon, you're going to wait over here. They have like a little sidebar where they are serving drinks, and you can see it looks like some of the individuals who you might be up against. You do see a hobgoblin similarly armed and armored perhaps to those that you encountered in the streets of Korenberg. This guy does have the bearing of a Dakani, or at least somebody who's wearing traditional Dakani armor. And you would see a couple of other individuals, mostly Brelish. One of them looks to be like some sort of sword dancer, lightly armored with a rapier on his hip. Though perhaps one of the most stand out individuals that you see in this motley little crew is seated on the bar, cross-legged, and drinking his mug from that particular vantage point is a Talenta Plains warrior. You can see that he's wearing the skull of some large lizard-like creature over his head, and he's got patchwork hide armor and a short-hafted and wickedly bladed, kind of like a scaled-down version of a pike. That these halflings, they design their own pointy things.
Goblin not worried. Sword dancer.
Yeah.
Halfling with a halfling barbarian. Might be concerning.
Yeah. You don't see...
Grab hold of him.
Quit wiggling around. The rest of you are shown to a box, and you do one of the things that seems to be a benefit up on the third floor where the quote unquote private boxes are. Some of them just have kind of velvet rips. Some of them have like little half walls. You guys are able to place bets in private. There's an attendant just outside where you all are seated. And like I said, your booth isn't private in particular. When you guys get your seats, there's 2 other individuals already seated there. Seems to be, the extent of it. But you can place bets on these bouts as they go. Anybody
To
betting?
show a little deference to Azure's acumen here, and before we separate, I'll hand over, let's call it 40, for me to win.
Oh, that,
I think you guys have that thing going on again with your mic that Michael talked about last time. Where, no, yeah, go. Sorry.
Handing 40 gold pieces to.
No, yeah, that part I heard. It just like pitches you up and down randomly. Sorry.
it's because I'm sitting back a little further, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told him, just give him a stern look, and because he's overly confident.
Yeah. You're like 40 gold. Oh yeah, to bury you. I got it. Then he says, to win. Oh.
So these bouts, I assume they're not to the death. Are they to the blood, or to yield, or like what are the rules?
To yield, yeah, definitely. And you could see, so when you guys are up on the third floor in like a private booth, you're only like 30 feet up. So it's also possible that you could sneakily intervene if you if you did so. You don't see anything like that happen in the first bout that you witness. That Dakani warrior two-handing a longsword quickly lots are drawn, and he ends up going against the Bravo type, the sword dancer, the lightly armored Brelish man. Did you guys want to place bets on any of the initial bouts, or are you just waiting for the main event to your eyes?
Main event.
All right, hang on just a second. We'll be wrapping up here shortly, everyone. Just heading towards a cliffhanger here. So the first so the Dakani and the Bravo go at it. No amount of fancy footwork seems to get him enough space. I mean, he's locked in essentially a pit with a vicious warrior. So after a couple of strokes of the longsword, he yields. The next 2 combatants are 2 fairly matched Brelish individuals. One of them just like a standard sword and halberd fighter, and then the other just like a dual-wielding scimitar type. But regardless, all of this passes. The blood is quickly kind of prestidigitated up out of the pit. Drinks are flowing. Your attendant, after securing bets for the rounds, also fetches you drinks in the lot. Small snack foods and such can be ordered. But the atmosphere in here is just like loud, sweaty, and exciting, I guess. But that being said, a couple of things happen of interest right here as we enter the third bout of the night. The lots are drawn, Gideon, and over near where you're standing with the other competitors. And you do see, it seems that you are drawn to stand against the halfling. And immediately all the bets begin regarding size, thinking that you have the reach and that... but then somebody, of course, points out, oh, look at the reach on that Sharash, or whatever they call those things. And, you can hear a lot of back and forth and jibber-jabber. You guys are kind of being gently but quickly pushed towards the pit by a couple of the organizers of this. And you can see, like I said, it's like a roughly... What's that?
If I'm within, standing distance of him, I'll And I'll introduce myself to the halfling. Like,
Good game.
buddy, all right, let's do this.
He he slides down off the bar after your names are drawn from the lots, and he does kind of stamp over towards you as you guys are getting marched towards the pit, and the rough wooden palisade is being opened up to let you guys in. You do turn to him and acknowledge him, introduce yourself, and he just kind of like looks up at you, and just spits on the ground of of the bar. And he just kind of starts like, it's crowded in here, so everybody immediately, you guys are given a bit of an avenue to get through the crowd. Just steps back even further when he kind of pulls his Talenta Sharash off his back and kind of starts like just flexing it a little bit. He doesn't seem interested in pleasantries, or maybe he doesn't speak common.
I mutter loud enough that like people are able to hear. You offer good sportsmanship once, and they never learn. And immediately just start, hammer on shield.
Man, this guy's been pit fighting. So bets are being placed.
I'm gonna place my bet. I'll put his 40 towards himself. I'm gonna put 80 of mine towards the halfling.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes. I cannot lose.
So we did just get paid by Kane, right? We actually have that goal.
Yes.
Yeah,
we do have that, right?
Okay.
we got.
Yeah, I'm assuming you guys
front.
stood there in the street and very discreetly split it up and stuffed it in your pockets.
I'm going to bet 249 gold on Gideon.
The attendant is like a little taken
Much
aback.
faith in me.
I'm keeping one for the ride home. I feel good about this.
This is exciting.
The attendant says, certainly. I'll have to take this down to be counted just to make sure this is more than I can do quickly. But and he just he has several money pouches, so he scoops. I'm hoping it's mostly platinum. It's probably platinum.
Probably.
All right, and this is okay. Talion, anything to do on this? No, this heat.
Italian's gonna reach into his robe or whatever he's got on. He's gonna grab the coin purse that he stole earlier. He's gonna toss it over to the attendant. Say, put this on Gideon Blacklake.
X gold. Nice. All right, I gotta come up with a number on that then. Cool. Let me
I am.
put that down.
Everyone else.
You can see that as the attendant is taking your all bets, somebody else comes in and briefly speaks to the two that are sharing the booth with you. It looks like maybe just another organizer from the events of the evening. And at this point, Gideon, you and this halfling are kind of stepped in, and the palisade is kind of being sealed up around you. It's just like a rough wooden barricade. Nobody's really tested it, like bull rushed up against it or anything like that. But you imagine that's not good sport. I guess all the rules weren't really defined for you. But you could see that the two other kind of nondescript individuals who were sharing this booth with you do get up to exit, and just kind of bustling around the side of the entryway to your booth, taking a seat and looking at the attendant for his attention. A gruff dwarven voice says, 100 gold on the big one to lose. And we need to have a conversation. Looking at the lot of you, you see an individual who you haven't seen since you disembarked this Spire Express. Worf Carr, formerly de Kundarak. the acid-scarred face of a dwarf who Talion has wronged. It seems like he has displaced the other two in your booth, and he has your ear for the moment, knowing that he has a captive audience. As you all look at Wolfgar, and he kind of regards you, the attendant secures the money for the bets and begins to shuffle out, kind of sensing a bit of tension, and maybe a conversation that he's not privy to. And down below you can hear the shout of the organizers calling the bout to begin. And we'll end it right there for the evening, I think. So Wolfgar, formerly Dekundrak. Wolfgar, no name.
Wolfgar, no name.
Yep. Used his money to run the others out of your booth, and now he's got you cornered for the moment. Although he just wants to talk. Don't worry about it.
Talk with this.
Yeah. Well, good game.
Does he have any coin purses where I can see it?
None obviously. I mean, he
multi-classing rogue next.
You can see he probably hands his money to the attendant taking the bets, and then just like puts it right down the front of his pants.
I don't go after that.
All right,
For once, I'm glad I can't smell.
Good game, everyone. Perfect. Well, I wrote down what everybody is betting. I know where we're starting next session, so that's great. Questions, comments, concerns? Y'all have fun? Did you have a good time?
Yeah. Had a good time?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
People put a lot of money on you. Well, yeah, I have been your Dungeon Master as always. I'm Dungeon Master Ralph. I'm at Cthulhu on Twitter, CRITTHULHU. And Alan, say goodnight to the folks.
Good night to the folks. This is Alan, Big Al, at Big Al the Lawyer on Twitter, playing Talion till Devandi, and we are happy to be playing again. Pass it on to Andy.
Didn't hear any of that.
Sorry.
Nobody's listening anyway.
All right. I've been Jules. I've been playing Azure, the Storm Sorceress Dragonborn.
And I am Michael. I am playing a ghost, a dwarven-sized warforged, and you can find me at the RPG Academy. Which anywhere you search that, if you find something, it's probably me.
I hope to see you all again in 2 weeks, but if not, whether it's 4 weeks or 4 months or whatever, we'll pick this up again.
Return.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a tradition. Every first month of January, or the new year.
Yeah. Well, have a good one,
This campaign's
guys.
been going on 20 years. We've had 27.